Yeah, my focus is really on the workers. What happens to workers once AI really goes mainstream?
I think that's a really important question for us to answer. How do you feel about collaborating on a follow-up video?
This is Cleo Abram, a video journalist. She recently produced a video about artificial intelligence, AI, the good and the bad, about how AI does exactly what you ask it to do, which could have some unintended consequences.
This is the category of thing that the researchers mean when they say a system optimizing a function of n variables will often set the remaining unconstrained variables to extreme values. In other words, it might optimize for what we tell it to do at the expense of other things that we care about. You get exactly what you ask for, not what you want.
She also talks about the good, like using AI's infinite computing power to solve problems we had previously thought to be unsolvable.
We now have predicted 3D structures for nearly all proteins known to science, more than 200 million of them.
But today, I want to do a follow-up on a part she didn't cover, which is how AI could and probably will disrupt the very fabric of our society, our everyday lives, our jobs, and further the already widening wealth gap in this nation and in nations all around the world. But first, bikini shopping. I know, you didn't expect a video on AI to include bikini shopping, neither did my mom, but here we are.
Hi friends, so I'm doing a summer bikini haul this morning with very beachy swimwear. This is actually the first look, and this color is almost like a blue tie-dye marble type look. So cute.
Could you tell? Maybe, maybe not, but Vicky is not real. She is what's known as a virtual influencer, a digitally rendered human so realistic that they are often mistaken for flesh and blood. To my surprise, and I don't know why I was surprised, there are tons and tons of these AI influencers. They have hundreds of thousands of followers. They even have fake virtual influencer friends. People comment on their post and they respond like they're real people. And they promote real products. This is incredible on so many levels, the highest of which is AI's apparent ability to not only replace mundane human jobs like data analytics, accounting, writing code, customer service, but also AI's newfound capability of being able to connect, persuade, influence other humans. A real ex machina moment right here.
I'd like us to go on a date.
Yep.
Okay, I have a confession. Cleo is not real either. I mean, I presume she is real, but who you heard on the phone earlier was not Cleo. Her voice was created using AI with less than 2 minutes of her real voice as training data. The result was, I think, pretty convincing.
You know, James, I think collectively we need to dive into what the most extreme bad and good AI futures actually look like so that you and I can be ready. And more importantly, so we can make sure that we get our real future right.
So yeah, she has nothing to do with this. This collab is completely unsanctioned. Cleo, if you've somehow stumbled upon this video, please forgive me. Don't sue me. I don't have that kind of money. My point is, I'm much less concerned about AI potentially taking control of the nuclear codes or AI being so smart that it is able to solve all of our problems. It's the fact that this AI transformation will touch every sector of the economy, and very few, if any, jobs are 100% safe. So what happens to workers now? This chart shows how much money companies spend each year on influencers to promote their products, and it's gone up year after year to a projected $7.14 billion next year in 2024. With Vicky over here, it's hard not to see how that budget just doesn't fall right off a cliff once virtual influencers reaches maturity. I'm sure some of you will say you weren't fooled at all, but remember, this is just version 1.0. Imagine 2.0, 3.0. Yeah, scary. And if an AI influencer like Vicky can do the most human thing of all, which is to connect with other humans, what do you think is going to happen to every other type of job in this society? McKinsey & Company estimates that between 400 and 800 million jobs could be potentially displaced by automation by 2030, which is around 30% of the global workforce. Some people are finding this to be very exciting.
There is no question that AI will change the way we work. And in many ways, that will be a good thing. It will make our jobs easier. It'll make us more effective. It'll make us more productive.
I agree with the US Secretary of Commerce that AI automation could be fantastic for the working class, something that used to take me 8 hours to do. Now I could do it in 2 hours, or even less. Maybe AI can just do it all and I can go to the beach, or better yet, I can use that time on activities that I find to be fulfilling, meaningful, a value add to my community, a reallocation of time based on our enhanced productivity. Dubbed the single most important piece of 20th century futurism, The Jetsons, which premiered in 1962 and was set in 2062, made a whole lot of predictions about the future, including the future of work.
Poor Pop.
Let's see, it's the third time this week he's had a bad dream, and all of them starring his boss, Mr. Spacely.
Where am I? Oh, I remember. Mr. Spacely was chasing me with a pitchfork.
It's probably because he's been working you too hard.
Yeah, I know. Yesterday I worked 2 full hours.
Well, what does Spacely think he's running? A sweatshop?
They weren't the only futurists to predict an increase in leisure time. In 1967, the Wall Street Journal predicted that the availability of robots would enable the 21st century man to spend hours relaxing at home on the sofa with his wife. Well, that obviously did not happen. So why were futurists at the time, who actually did predict many things correctly, why were they so wrong about work? The Foundation for Economic Education, a libertarian think tank, wrote, quote, "People theoretically could have chosen leisure over investment in new children and more crops. If everyone had chosen leisure, the population would not have boomed. If some people chose leisure, they were outpopulated and outcompeted by those who went with option number 2. So Darwinism, I suppose that could be the case. But I would posit something different, that the reason why technology hasn't fundamentally changed our relationship with work is that they, meaning the powers that be, the 2 most powerful entities in our lives, would never allow such an outcome. The first being corporations. They don't want it because it tips the balance of power towards labor. And the second, our government. They would never allow it because if people aren't working that much, they might start to get some ideas. Corporations must maximize profit, but not only that, they aren't really responsible for anything that happens outside of their 4 walls.
And so IBM, we heard this week, planning to replace almost 8,000 jobs over time because of AI.
Those displaced workers, they're not IBM's problem anymore. IBM, like every other company, is doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is to profit maximize, meaning that in every transaction, they must take the maximum and give up the minimum. So in this case, any gains made possible by AI won't be distributed to workers, but rather immediately absorbed into the coffers of the management and of the shareholders. While the World Economic Forum is projecting that AI could potentially create new jobs in lieu of the jobs it destroys, they cite that past technological advancements has created similar concerns but ended up creating millions of new jobs. There's no guarantee that this will be the case in the future, which is why some, like 2020 presidential candidate Andrew Yang, have proposed a government intervention, UBI, Universal Basic Income, to help workers whose jobs have been automated away by AI. This is just my thinking, but I don't think those kinds of proposals that would give economic freedom to the people, I don't think those could ever be possible, would never be allowed by the government, because without work, one starts to think, to talk, to question the status quo. Why do CEOs make over 300 times the average worker? Why aren't there term limits in Congress? Why do we sacrifice lives and resources fighting endless wars while people go hungry every day? Why does the Federal Reserve have the powers that they have? And that kind of thinking spells trouble, because reality is the system was specifically designed in such a way that unless you were lucky enough to be born into capital, there cannot be any other option for you but labor. Because if you don't work, you don't have anything to eat, you got nowhere to sleep. But of course, if you push things too far, you could risk a potential populist uprising. A violent one where people are killing each other on the streets. But I would say that they would rather have that happen than to voluntarily dismantle the de facto feudalistic society that we have today, one where a majority of people are living on the edge of financial calamity. It's not any coincidence that the richest billionaires have their doomsday bunkers prepped and ready to go just in case things really go sideways. And I guess that's why I wrote Cleo into this discussion, because my observation is that while her videos are obviously all excellent, the graphics, the editing, her storytelling, my critique is the overall premise, huge if true. Yes, it would be huge if the powers that be use AI for the betterment of society, but that premise completely ignores the fact that time and time again, the people who have had the power over the implementation of new technologies such as AI will invariably abuse that power, either to increase corporate profits or to facilitate more government control. The banality of evil points us to the inevitable, which is that we will see generally good people working within a system that incentivizes using AI not to raise the living standards for everyone, but instead to perpetuate a system that leaves the masses fighting for scraps, while the 1% continues to live the way they always have, in their little enclave, away from the harsh realities of the very system they've worked so hard to create and maintain. This is just me, but I think if we desire any other outcome from AI, we must take back that power by becoming more educated, more informed, by putting aside our differences and harnessing our collective power in uniting against those oppressors whose interest lies in keeping this exploitative system going. That's all from me this week. What are your thoughts? Please don't hesitate to share with us in the comments section below. Let's have a conversation. If you found this video to be helpful, you want to spread this information to others so we can stay free, please take a second to like this video, share it with your friends and family, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. As always, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one.